Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. My name is Rayyah and I'm going to be presenting my Capstone Project 1, which will be bike ridership in Edmonton. So the goal of this analysis is to identify trends in bike riders within Edmonton. Biking can be a great way to stay fit, be environmentally friendly, and explore an area where one lives. Through analyzing trends in bike ridership data, we can get a better understanding of who bike riders are and how we can encourage people to bike more. So, for today, I'll be analyzing riding data from the city of Edmonton, pulled from their open data portal. The original data set is called Bike Ridership Edmonton Insight Community. The number of respondents as per the survey information are 816 respondents, with 646 being community insight members and 170 being anonymous respondents. The anonymous respondents, meaning that the city of Edmonton did not collect key demographic information from 170 of those people. Yeah, and you can always check out the City of Edmonton's open data portal. So some key findings from this data set are that adults 30 and up are more likely to ride bikes. Older adults 65 and up, as well as young adults, are least likely to ride bikes. So the most active age groups are those aged 30 to 34, 35 to 39, 45 to 49, and 50 to 54. The least active age groups are 18 to 24, 65 to 69, 70 to 74, 75 to 79. Another key finding is that most people in Edmonton ride bikes for recreational and entertainment reasons. So, for bike rider commute reasons across ages, the most chosen reason for biking was for recreational purposes and entertainment purposes. The least chosen reasons for biking across all ages was commuting and other reasons that were not mentioned. So age groups that commute to work or school the most are those aged 25 to 29, 30 to 34, and 35 to 39. So another key finding is that bike ridership is an expensive endeavor. Bike ridership habits assessed by income. Those most likely to ride bikes based on income are those who earn 60,000 and above. And those least likely to ride bikes are those who earn around 59,000 and below. So, when assessed by age and income together, those most likely to ride bikes based on these two variables combined are those aged 35 to 39, 40 to 44, 45 to 49, 50 to 54, 55 to 59. And bike riders least likely to ride bikes based on age and income are those aged 18 to 24, 25 to 29, 30 to 34, 70 to 74, 75 to 79. And these are somewhat consistent with the other findings of the most active and least active age groups. Okay, so for the how I arranged the data set, I first imported pandas as a PD and imported the bike data set, bike ridership data set. So this is what it looks like raw. It has all these different data points, but I was working with specific data points. There's some data points that I omitted from my analysis. That includes some responses like a type of transportation they mostly use. Another one would be um, the type of the degree that they have in terms of education. So for this data specifically, I used the independent variables of bike ridership commuting habits and age, and I used the dependent variable of age and income. So I had 3 comparisons where I pulled those findings from. So the first one was bike ridership commuting habits, X analyzed by age, bike ridership commuting habits, X analyzed by income, Y, and bike ridership income Y analyzed by age. Yeah, so for some of the first, I started by renaming the columns in the data that I wanted to make it a little bit easier for me to read. And after that, I assigned a new variable and indexed in the specific data points that I wanted. So that included age, commuting habits, and then I also dropped the response of did not answer from age range, and I also ended up dropping the non-values from that data set. So this is what it ends up looking like, and this are most of the data that I wanted to end up working with. So I still need to organize this data set a little bit more. So I started by slicing and creating other data frame to hold that specific data columns. So here I'm just creating age range and household income columns, and then I also extract the commuting habits data. So within each column for commuting, there were 2 other data sets, and I wanted to pull those out. So I indexed the main data set, and then I put that index into another index, and I did that by identifying the value that it was equal to. So if a survey respondent confirmed that they do use it for commuting, or they answered yes to a question, they would receive a value of 1 in the original data set, and then if they did not, they would receive a value of 0. So I just used those values to assign yes and no to commute, and then for the no, I ended up replacing it again with a 1 because I created new columns for each variable. So the 1 would represent the positive value for that column. So this is what it looks like. So no, this is what the previous data set looks like. So commute, other reasons, entertainment, errands, and recreation. And this is what the new data set looks like. So from 4 data variables to 8 data variables, because each one of these is another contains various data. So the 1 is yes and the 0 is no. Okay, the next thing I did the same thing for all the other data types I want. So this is for the income specifically. So I did rename some of the columns to make it easier for me to identify. And because the income columns were strings, I had to convert those into integers using dot as type int, and then I used pd.concat to put all the values into one data set, and then I used .fill na to change all the non-values to 0. So this is what this data set previously looked like, and this is what the new one looks like with the new columns added for each income bracket. Okay, so the next thing is to create that data frames to hold specific data. This is just making the lists and using the data sets that I created before to make lists of all those variables that I will be using. So this one is for the commuting and also for the age range. So age range, I put it into a string because it will appear under the x-axis. Yeah. And so this is what it looks like. And I'll do the same thing for the income. I convert those two lists as well. And then after converting those two lists, I'm going to create grouped variables and lists as well. So I created 3. So one grouped data set or list is going to contain all the data set grouped by income, and another one will contain the data set grouped by age, and another one will contain the data set grouped by age. But this third one is one that is containing income, but I group it by age. This one is containing mostly commute, dataset 3.group by age range, and it's going to be grouped by age, but this is commuting habits grouped by age, and this is income grouped by age. So they're both grouped by age, but they're different variables. So this is what it looks like. So this is commuting habits iterated through income. Yeah, I think so. So I actually forgot to show first the groups list. So after creating these groups, I would do iterate through them. So by iterating through them using the range age. So this is the list that I create, and I would iterate through them using these ones. So this is iterating through the incomes using commuting habits. And this one is iterating through the lists using incomes as well, and commuting habits. So these are the results. So this is commuting habits iterated through by age. And this is commuting habits iterated through by income. Uh, yeah. So this is how I iterate through them using for age and range age, for income and range income. Then I index and get the sum for those. The next thing I did was create a dictionary for each of the 3 values that I was comparing. And these will also be iterable dictionaries using the previous variable lists. So these ones that were created. And you can see the results here: range age, um, range income, and all of those. So these are just the dictionaries created using the previous lists that used the grouped data sets. Then the next thing would be wrapping the data so that I can assign it to the X and Y axis. So I first created a variable that would hold the different commuting habits, and then I iterate through some of those lists via the X value so that they contain both the age and the commuting habit. And then for the Y axis, I just combined the lists and iterated through the bike data set, the dictionary, this dictionary here, bike date that was created. And I do the same thing for the others. This one is going to be income and commuting habits. So the X data will reflect prefer not to answer, yes, commute, and the Y data will be from the bike income dictionary. Same thing for the third one. So the X data will reflect the income of the bike riders and their age, and the Y data will do the same. So for the data visualization, I started off by creating two variables that will hold the colors that will be shown. Then I called bouquet using how it's generally called. I did import math because I used some math functions when I was visualizing the data. So this is how I visualized it. So I titled the first visualization by ridership habits by age. I used the X range, the Y range as well. The X label was biking habits. Survey respondents with the Y label to showcase the number of um, respondents that responded to that. And then I also used the math function. So this one was because my labels for the X axis were a bit long, and so I wanted to um, manipulate them so they can be easily readable and they're not overlapping. So this is what it looks like for bike ridership habits, so commuting habits by age. So you can see along the x-axis, there are different age groups: 18 to 24, 25 to 29, 30 to 34, and so on. And then you can see the labels on the x-axis are kind of turned. That's why I used the math function. And so you can see the yes, no commute, yes, other reasons. And the legend is very long because there are a lot of there's a lot of data on the x-axis, but it just showcases some of those. And this is just the same data set presented using a scatter chart. This is presented using a line. And this one is for the income. So this is bike ridership habits by income. So this is what it looks like when you see the bar chart. The first one is prefer not to answer. So those are people who didn't really give their income bracket. But as you can see, though the bike ridership habits of those under 20,000, 20,000 to 29 aren't really that high. But when you get to about, I would say 60,000, then you start seeing more respondents and more bike ridership habits being reported. And then it dies down more at the end as well. And this is just the line visualization of the bike ridership habits by income. And you can see the same thing on this one, that it starts off really slow, and then at the 60,000 and up, it really jumps higher. So this is just the same thing, but on a scatter chart. And yeah, so this one is the visualization for age and income. So this is just showcasing incomes for the bike riders and respondents by age. And this is the scatter chart version of that. Yeah, so thank you everyone for taking the time to watch this first capstone project.